race was the topic, and he has never been able to clear that out of his head. To him, every time I, as a person who was not born in that era at all, refer to lower taxes, I'm doing it because of some racial code. Every topic is seen through the same prism, because that's the only way he can seemingly see it.
Yeah. Well, because he was born prior to Reconstruction.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He went through the Civil War.
He went through the whole thing.
He was there.
And, it's hard for him to let go, I guess.
It was a big, it was a major moment in our country's history.
Yeah. Yeah, and he hasn't been able to get past it. Mm-hmm. Understandable. However, every once in a while, maybe 10 to 15% of the time, he will sound like a right-wing kook on a late-night Fox News show. I mean, what are you talking about? Yesterday, his defense of the Tea Party, Ronan Farrow was asking him about Dave Bratt, who won in Virginia. And listen to the response from Chris Matthews at MSNBC.
Well, first of all, I don't think you can assume that the liberals are smarter than the conservative professors. I think that's crazy to talk like that. And it's exactly the attitude that conservatives can't stand. I don't know which professor is more popular, but that doesn't mean it's a better professor, first of all. Secondly, I think that I was listening to Bratt last night. I listened to him today. I think he's very sophisticated for a politician. He's certainly up to the ranks of most politicians I've ever dealt with. He speaks in a speculative manner, in an intellectual manner. He can handle any debate on this program or my program. So this looking down our noses at Tea Party people has got to stop. They have a method.
What? This looking down our noses at Tea Party people has got to stop?
He spent 4 years, or maybe longer,
looking down his nose at Tea Party members.
It's literally been 80% of the content of his show for 5 years.
What a statement. And, there was more.
They're as American as any liberal is. And they're really angry about the failure of the system. I was over covering Eastern Europe when the wall came down. And what people didn't like, it wasn't the philosophy of communism they didn't like. It was the complete corruption of it, the failure of it to deliver to working people. And that's what this system is doing right now. We can't control the deficit. We can't control the debt. We can't control the border. What good is government good at? And that's the question that's happened on every issue we've covered on our show.
And by the way,
and then did he just ask the question, what good is government good at? I mean, apart from the, syntax of his sentence. Since when did he start to question big government?
Well, Chris Matthews is a huge small government guy. He's been all over that for a while.
He's kept that fairly quiet.
Oh, yeah.
But
really quiet.
Yeah, he's really good at keeping that quiet. That's amazing. In light of what he has said in the past, which are things like this.
We made a real effort to show the face of the Tea Party. All the placards up there, the sort of Hitler mustaches, the black face, if you will, superimposed on the face of Barack Obama. These obvious racial canards that keep popping up. Is this sort of a resumption of the old South, of the way things were before the Civil War, for example?
Okay, we got some other thing threaded through that. But he's talking about how racist the Tea Party is. And he goes on and on. This is a montage of clips where he is babbling about how bad the Tea Party is. And then last night, he's all over defending the Tea Party. What is he doing?
He's insane.
He is.
The premise of the question, and MSNBC, by the way, dead last in how much they're trusted as far as a news organization.
Oh, that's right.
I had this chart right in front of me, and I just put it down, but they finished, not only, of course, they finished dead last among conservatives. People are not going to trust MSNBC, but they finished dead last overall. And in fact, Fox News is trusted by almost the identical amount of liberals as MSNBC is. That's how bad MSNBC is. Liberals will actually trust Fox News at about the exact same rate as they do MSNBC. So it's a long history. But Ronan Farrow, who, as we know, look, the guy is an award-winning journalist.
Yes.
He's done about 12 shows, and only 8 people have seen all 12 shows. If you combine the entire audience for all 12 shows, 8 people have seen him. But all 8 people happen to be voters on the panel that gave him the award for journalism. But his point leading into that question to Chris Matthews was, Dave Bratt is a professor. Apparently his Democratic opponent is also a professor at the same school, and his opponent has a higher rate my professor score. So obviously that means you should vote for him. Like, what? Did you say? I mean, so maybe that's the reaction. It's just such a dumb lead-in that Chris Matthews couldn't help himself to fight against it. But, I mean, that's never stopped him before.
No,
usually he's the one providing the dumb lead-in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the absolutely asinine point about the Tea Party being racist or hate mongers, or that's all they're about, that's all they ever do, that's all they care about. And since when does he give conservatives any credit for actually having values and an ideological point of view? And when people go askew of that, then we're upset with it. And that's what he was doing there. He was giving conservatives credit for, being tired of the government doing stupid things.
And of course, if you look at the leading question, which was incredibly stupid by Ronan Farrow, but much less idiotic, much less offensive to me than the things Chris Matthews has said in the past, like, for example, identifying the face of the Tea Party as a bunch of placards with Hitler mustaches and blackface.
Yeah.
I mean, that's way more offensive and not even remotely close to Ronan Farrow. Stupid point. But to get upset about that after the stuff Chris Matthews has said is really weird.
Yeah, again, it's things like this.
We made a real effort to show the face of the Tea Party. All the placards up there, the sort of Hitler mustaches, the black face, if you will, superimposed on the face of Barack Obama. These obvious racial canards that keep popping up. Is it sort of a resumption of the old South, of the way things were before the Civil War, for example? When you get, is it like that old dreamy nostalgia you get in the old movies, you know what I mean?
No.
Going with the wind. Is it that kind of America they want to bring back, or what? Where there were no gays, where blacks were slaves, where the Mexicans were in Mexico. I mean, is this what they want? They do seem to be integrally involved in the cultural right and a lot of xenophobia, a lot of we don't want anybody else coming to this country. The Tea Party Republicans rejected a consensus. They deserve the whack they're now getting in the polls. 9% of the country approves of the job Congress is doing. Got it, Mr. and Mrs. Tea Party? Do they still count blacks as three-fifths of a vote? Well, is that the way they count it? Is that the way they count it?
I mean, listen to that litany of nonsense.
Yeah.
And then you compare it to what he said last night. It's inconceivable.
Yeah, how could it be the same person? And that's probably when you try to sit here and analyze the thought processes of a Chris Matthews, you're going to have your head's going to hurt. But think about what a dumb series of points that is. You have first of all, there's the blatant just accusations of racism, wanting there to be no gays, wanting there to be, I mean, what? And then you get to the point of, well, I hope the Tea Party is understanding and getting the whacking they're getting in these polls. Only 9% of people approve of Congress. The Tea Party exists solely because of that number. That's why there is a Tea Party. If 50% of people agreed with Congress, there wouldn't have been a Tea Party in the first place. The reason why there's a Tea Party is because no one liked Congress, and because there's been a few members who have been elected. You can't give responsibility to the last 100 years of problems to a group that was invented in 2010. It's such a stupid series of points. You wonder how this guy has been on television for this long.
Thank you. Yes. How does he have a job?
I don't know.
That's the real conspiracy here that conspiracy theorists need to be looking into.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about FEMA camps in the Gulf of Tonkin.
No. Look into how Chris Matthews has a job on television. Why isn't anybody tracking that down?
I don't know.
Is he the head of the Bilderbergers?
He must be.
Is he the CEO of Whataburger? The bacon cheeseburgers? I don't know. There's something going on there. Is he a member of the Rothschild family? Sort of maybe he married the maternal side where the Matthews family came in, and so there's some sort of connection there to the Illuminati. I don't know.
I would believe he had something on somebody, but then I remember who he is, and he doesn't seem to be capable of having something on somebody. He can't do anything but just blurt everything out that he thinks anyway. The first thought at the top of his head, he wouldn't be able to hide a conspiracy.
It's just unbelievable. Finest moments.
I think this is rank racism. Sometimes people on the right get very upset when people on the left charge racism, but, shuck and jive, that's like talking about watermelon or, for Jews, talking about Jews are greedy or the Irish are drunk or whatever. These are racist tropes, and we need to call them what they are. And I actually think, at least implicitly, Trump was playing on racism today with his ridiculous stunt demanding Obama's college transcripts. What's the
Well, what's that about? Let's get to what is that about? It's about affirmative action. We know what it's about. Well, to reach back to one of our heroes from the past, from the 60s, Saul Alinsky once said that even though both sides have flaws in their arguments, and you can always find something nuanced about your own side you don't like, and it's never perfect, you have to act in the end like there's simple black and white clarity between your side and the other side, or you don't get anything done. Right. I always try to remind myself of Saul Alinsky when I get confused. Everything he's done is clean as a whistle. He's never not only broken any law, he's never done anything wrong. He's the perfect father, the perfect husband, the perfect American. And all they do is trash the guy. And it's impossible for me to believe they would have said the same thing about a Walter Mondale or a Jimmy Carter or Bill Clinton. I forgot he was black tonight for an hour.
Just a quick reminder of some of the greatest hits.
I forgot about that Saul Alinsky one. That's an amazing clip because he's essentially admitting he's lying about his own arguments. He's saying, well, yeah, there might be nuanced things, there might be points, but I'm going to call everybody racist or I'm going to call everybody homophobe because, you got to do that to get stuff done.
Yes.
If that is not the entire progressive philosophy on how to talk about an issue, I don't know what is.
And he's said in the past that Alinsky is one of his heroes. So, yeah. And none of the things coming out of his mouth have ever made sense because Chris Matthews didn't used to at least sound like or act like an Alinsky disciple. Back in the day when he was praising Glenn, when he had Glenn on his show in 2003, he called Glenn one of the smartest people he's seen. He can't believe he's wise beyond his years for a guy so young. Yeah. He watches him every day or listens to him every day. I mean, things like that. And then something over time, probably working at MSNBC, happened to Chris Matthews.
Yeah, he's just tracked whatever his bosses have employed as the theory of the channel.
Yeah, no question.
And that's sort of pathetic, really.